Hello, good morning, children. So, for today, we are going to have a short storytelling. So, are you ready to learn something? So, our short story is all about the lion and the poor slave. Once upon a time, a poor slave was very badly treated by his master. He was beaten and starved, and so he ran away. He knew that if his master caught him, he would be killed. So he decided the safest place to hide would be somewhere in the middle of a great hot, sandy desert. As he wandered about the desert in search of food and shelter, he came to a cave. It seemed to be empty and he entered. He sat down on a rock, and then suddenly, from behind him, there was a roar. He looked over his shoulder and saw an enormous lion. He closed his eyes and made ready to die. But the lion didn't spring on him. It came forwards, winning and fun. The slave saw it was lifting one of its paws. The lion put his foot on the slave's knee. It was swollen and sore. The slave lifted it gently and examined it. There was a large thorn embedded in the ball of the foot. Carefully, the slave pulled out the thorn. He cleaned the wound and bound it with a piece of cloth torn from his own tunic, and soon the wound healed. From that day onwards, the lion treated the slave as a friend. Every day, he would go out hunting and bring back food. The slave would make a fire and cook the meat. They would sleep side by side in the fire. After several months, though, the slave began to long for human company. He said goodbye to the lion and made his way across the desert to a city. As he approached the city, it so happened that his old master was riding along the same road. When he saw his lost slave, he shouted, "Seize him! Seize him!" The slave was captured and condemned to death. "And it won't be a pretty death," said his master. "You'll be thrown to a wild beast. You'll be eaten alive." At the end of the week, he was brought to the arena. A great crowd had gathered to watch. In a cage, there was an enormous lion, pacing to and fro, roaring and growling. The slave was thrown into the arena. The door of the cage was open, but to the people's amazement, the lion, as soon as he saw the slave, bounded across to him like a huge tame cat, rubbing himself against him and purring. The slave stroked the lion's head and back. The lion licked the slave's cheek as though he was a kitten. The lion had recognized his old friend. The spectators were amazed. They started shouting, "Spare his life! Spare his life!" And the governor of the city, when he heard the story, marveled at such gratitude in a wild beast and ordered that both slave and lion should be set free. So, did you learn something and have fun with our short story? Okay, so the moral lesson of the story, The Slave and the Lion, teaches us that acts of kindness, compassion, and selflessness are powerful and lasting, even in the most unexpected circumstances. When the slave helped the wounded lion by removing the thorn and caring for its injury, he expected nothing in return. His actions came from a place of empathy and humanity. Although the slave was suffering himself, having been beaten, starved, and forced to flee, he still chose to show compassion to a creature in need. This simple but noble act created a deep bond of loyalty and friendship between the man and the lion. Later, when the slave was in danger of being killed by a wild beast as punishment, fate brought him face to face with the very lion he had once helped. Instead of attacking, the lion remembered the slave's kindness and protected him, showing gratitude in a way that surprised everyone. The story reminds us that kindness is never wasted. Even if it may not seem to have immediate rewards, it teaches us that those who help others without expecting anything in return may one day be helped in ways they never imagined. It also highlights that even wild creatures can feel loyalty and gratitude, showing how deeply good deeds can touch others. Ultimately, the story encourages us to act with compassion and courage, even in difficult times, because such actions have the power to change lives, including our own. And that's all for today. So I hope you learned something and you have fun. Bye bye!